Hang on. Are you muted? Did you mute?
No. Can you hear me now? Dude, I've become the oldest person in the world. That's just how it works. And I'm trying to be all like fucking 2020 with this situation.
Which I admire. I'm impressed.
I look like a douche. I look like Robin Williams in Good Morning Vietnam.
Good morning, Matt Nathanson.
And the other thing that I got self-conscious about is that I just watched the Paul Stanley one.
Yeah.
And you guys look fucking great. And I look like, and I just showered and washed my hair, which I only do like once every 3 weeks.
You
and
don't have to.
Yeah. Well, and I have this honking zit. It's awesome. It's good to be here. It's good that you're aging stronger and better than I. It's frustrating. And that Paul Stanley looked incredible.
Yeah, he does.
And you all have like beautiful light coming. My office is down under the deck, kind of. So I have, anyway.
I don't know about Paul's lighting. I think he was just sort of in front of a window in his bedroom because it looked like it was in his master bedroom. But
Dude, real talk. That guy just lives his life with like the beautiful like light of rock and roll, just like glowing on him.
It seems, I've only really I met him years and years and years and years ago, briefly. I can't tell you how I met him.
Yes, you can.
I can't tell you now.
I know, but you have so many stories that you can't tell people.
But I will tell you this. I met Paul Stanley very briefly at a studio in Hollywood which is now called Henson. Back then it was called A&M, which you know very well. I was in Studio A making an album, and in walks Gene Simmons, who I had met several times, and I kind of knew Gene a little bit. He used to come, this is something I've never mentioned to you. Gene Simmons used to come to gigs of mine unannounced, and I would look over, and in the wings, there'd be just Gene just going like this.
Oh, come on.
Listening. And he wouldn't really hang, and we still really don't know each other. We've never really hung out. We had dinner once years and years ago. But he would just sort of, I remember once he said something like, I've taken an interest in your career, and I really like what you're doing. Like he was just sort of like, it was almost like, And so anyway, I'm making this record, and Gene walks in. I was like, dude, how you doing? He says, could we possibly use your upstairs lounge for about 45 minutes? And I went, sure. Well, I don't know what it was, but it had to do with members of the band and Paul. And it was Paul's birthday. I do know that.
Oh, okay. All right. Then no finger to hole like this.
I don't think so, but who knows, Anyway, yes, Paul seems like he's living his best life right now.
Dude, I read his book. I know that I read the first book, and I know that he's incredibly articulate, and I know that he's incredibly sort of like self-realized.
Yeah.
But it was real fun to hear him level-headedly sort of articulate what's going on, because I agreed with it, of course. But I mean, like, because there are people that probably saw it that were like, but like,
always going to be somebody that reacts to that no matter what somebody says.
Yeah. But so it rang my bell. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was great. I was texting you the whole time during.
I know. I get to have a conversation with you that's unique to any of the conversations I've had during this time, in that you, and a lot of people wouldn't necessarily know this, you were a mere few days into making a brand new album in LA with a great producer named Butch Walker. It was just you were only in your first week of recording, right? When the sort of stay-at-home thing really kicked into gear, and you went back home and stayed there. Yeah,
we got about 2 weeks in, but luckily Butch works really fast, so we put a lot of effort in and a lot of work, and we got a lot done, and now we're doing a lot remotely. It's funny. I said like maybe 2 weeks into this thing of being home, I said to her, man, you know what? I just realized I feel cheated out of my experience of making my album. Yeah. Like, and we were eating breakfast, and she goes, yeah, man, everybody feels fucking cheated. It's a pandemic. Like there are people.
It's not your pandemic, Matt.
And she said it in this way
Did you just go
that
like
was
this? I would have just gone like this.
it was I was like, oh my God, yeah, like this is I was like, because I like to refer to myself as the recovering narcissist.
Yeah.
And but that old
You
habits
fell off
die
the wagon
hard.
for a minute.
Yeah, I fell off the wagon. Old habits die hard.
You went on a bender.
Yep. I was like, this affects me. This affects me. And only me.
Oh, dude. Well, look, as I've said to my sons and to different friends of ours, it's okay for you to feel like whatever's happening to you because of this is happening to you. It doesn't negate our empathy and sympathy to those who are going through much rougher situations. But to pretend, I actually saw somebody say, make a comment on Instagram about, and I posted some, I think it was a piece of the Paul Stanley thing. And I chose a teaser that was about compassion, and it was a feel good thing. And somebody said, yeah, easy for you to say from your Malibu house. Like, dude, I'm sorry. I know that it upsets you that I live a good life, but I didn't fuck you out of a good life.
Well, this is the funny part about, and I'm guilty of this as much as other people are guilty of this, but I feel like at least I'm trying to be vigilant about it. It's really difficult to hold in your brain, and it's really difficult to hold in your brain two opposing emotional feelings about the same thing. And like that is advanced.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say advanced, like people that can't do it are see, I get real judgy. This is part of our fun.
No.
Is like I love to in the process of sort of like of being offended by somebody's stupidity and them dumping their shit on me or whatever, I like to be like, I'm better than, right? Like that's what
Right.
that's my bluster moment. But like what it comes down to is it is a muscle that needs to be worked consistently over your entire life to be able to hold in your mind two opposing emotional or more, the complex,
Right.
thousand sorrows, thousand joys, to be able to hold on to that and about one particular thing and not go black and white. And that's just like that's forever work. So
That's why, in a way, and this is going to sound really weird, I've never really articulated this particular thought because I've never really had this particular thought. But that's one of the things that's a relief, I think, if I may speak for you, because we're friends and we talk about a lot of shit. It's one of the things about racism, for example, that makes it easy for me because it is black and white for me. I mean, no pun intended. Um, I don't ever hold too emotional. Like there's no part of me that's ever going to be like, but I get why you're being racist. I can understand why you said those racist things and think those racist thoughts. And like, I understand based upon your background or your upbringing or your this or that. No, I can't. It's just fucking not okay.
so
It's
right.
cut and dried.
So we have this discussion a lot, obviously.
Yeah.
But I've learned in the world for me that carrying the suffering of hating people is really not working for me. And hating people because they're ignorant or racist or whatever, it doesn't mean I condone their behavior. But I'm trying to figure out that, like, if you come down a chute in your life where everyone tells you and everyone and all signs point to the fact that everybody tells you that you look up to, that you learn from, that like an African American human is less than a white person, right? And then you come out of that chute and you get dropped into a world where people are telling you otherwise. If you're not open to the idea of change, and no one rarely anyone is. No, it's like a very small percentage of humans who want to have their mind changed. Most people just want to cling because it gives them, because it allows them to come to terms with the fact that we're all just fucking dying, right? Which is like, which is brutal. And so we deny it by sticking to our guns. And this idea of like okay, so fear, insecurity, superiority, these are all traits that I relate to strongly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if I can find empathy in myself for those things and those things that I want to work on, then I should be able to have empathy for others, even if they don't want to fix those things. But I can see the root of racism comes from things that relate and I relate to. Then it's like, it doesn't mean I condone the racist behavior. It doesn't mean I don't stand up and push against it, but it means that the person I'm trying, again, I talk about this like I know what I'm doing, but like I'm trying very hard to come to terms with the fact that that person and I share all the same fears and hopes and ideas. They just came down different chutes with different influences that make them different than me. And so I agree that I agree on all of what you're saying, except for vilifying the person who feels that way. Maybe even not vilifying, maybe that's the wrong word to hold on to, but the idea of like, if I can have empathy for somebody because I want to hold on to them, I want to hold, we talk about this dynamic, right? If I want to be able to hold that somebody is not completely useless because they're a racist, because they aren't. It's impossible. They have to have some redeeming quality in them that allow, because everyone does. Because they maybe they're a nurse, maybe they're a doctor, maybe they drive an ambulance, maybe they do work. So it's like there's good and bad in everybody. And if I can not close myself off to it, then I think that that's going to somehow reduce, if not eliminate, the suffering that I feel because I carry around with me so much fucking hatred for people who do things the way that I believe very strongly that you shouldn't do them. And that happens with racism. That happens with how I think they should order their fucking coffee at the store when I'm in front of them. That idea is like something I really want to uproot because it's not, because it brings me fucking misery. And so that's where I come from. That's where I come from in it.
I get it. I totally get it, and I respect it. I'm going to push back before we move on. I'm going to push back on, only two ways. When it comes to racism specifically, of course, I've known people in my life who harbor and express racist rhetoric and ideology, who I also know to be really good people in certain other ways. However, those people, for the most part, come from a generation before mine, okay? And when you talk about coming out of the chute, I think that where I got to push back on that is, no matter what your influences may be, like if you come from, if you even are lucky enough to live in a two-parent home, if both parents are constantly expressing racist rhetoric and ideology, the idea that that kid is going to come out of the chute into society and be like, I don't know what to do, I'll tell you why I call bullshit on that. Because in the last 20 years, especially 25 years, 99% of people do not live in a fucking vacuum. They know, they hear it from the time they're a kid that that's not okay. They hear from other people. They see it, they hear it. Do they hear racist shit from at home? Yes. But do they also hear compassion? Do they hear anti-racist rhetoric? They do. It's a choice.
So here, I'm going to stop. I want to push back against that real quick. Everybody's lens is so different, and you know this. You know that everybody interprets love. If I say I love you, Richard, that is interpreted by you based on what you believe in your fundamental self, right? So you know that the lens of people
Right,
interprets.
and I would say I love you too, but I feel the need to see other people.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, so the lens of human beings is so specific to the person. That's obvious. But the second part is, I think I have a hair on my, I don't even want to ask where that's. So, and then the second part of it that's really important is that desperation in whatever form it is, in human beings trumps logic. And desperation and fear trump any nutritional value that you get from anything. So if you, and I see it in myself when I feel when I feel bandwidth pressed and can't function, it's like, and desperation happens, I act and react differently than my logical brain would. So people that live or create or a scenario in their lives where they're constantly feeling pressure or constantly feeling less than or constantly, it's impossible for you. It is the mind that creates the problem cannot solve the problem. So for them to then be able to come out from under something like that, to be able to see like, yeah, it's like, but there's so much comfort in belief systems, and it takes so much work to rewire those pathways that it's like, I think you're asking human beings to do something that maybe they don't. You're projecting your work ethic and your ability to break things open. You're projecting that onto people that maybe don't have the same bandwidth or the same abilities or the same toolkit that you have. I know. Hey, look, this is what love is about. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but I think it to be really more specific based upon what you just said. When you talk about vilifying, it's not about vilifying the person as a whole. It's about vilifying that particular ideology. And
Sure.
I will do that till the day I die.
You
So,
do. Yeah.
it, I get what you mean about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I get that you don't take somebody. Look, there are people who don't redeem themselves in those ways, in certain ways, until they're in their 70s or 80s. And what do you do with that? What do you do with the I'm spacing on his first name, Byrd, Senator Byrd, who was, he was a segregationist. He was like, and then later in his life, he was like, I can't believe that I not only ever bought into that rhetoric, but that I stood for it. And I made things horrible for so many people in this country as a political leader. But he had deep regret, and he had deep remorse. And so, of course, you could say, and I'm sure that it's you could say it like we were saying, there are probably redeeming things about 99% of people who express this kind of shit, this kind of garbage. But I will always, what is cut and dried is that ideology for me, is that it's not okay. It's not okay to express. You can feel and think whatever you want. That's not my problem. But when you act on it or you express it, I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself every goddamn time.
And this is the part of you that, one of the many things, I love you for real. And it's like, and this is one of the places where I think I get strength from your ability to do that. And I've had conversations with you as well where I feel like maybe it's not the best use of your energy because it's like a game of whack-a-mole.
Totally. And we talked about that. I agree.
Yeah. And I'm with you, man. I'm fucking back it. Like if you and I are from the school of grabbing someone by the fucking throat that says something that, and dude, I mean, that is how I lived my entire life. And it's like, and that's how my family, parts of my family still live their entire lives. And it's like, I'm not going to lose myself. I have this lyric that I've never written. I can't even really say it, but it's like, I love the idea that like, I lost my mother to a war she fought with the world.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't want to lose myself to a war I'm fighting with the world. I want to fucking.
That's really interesting, Matt, because I think that one of the things that I have become more and more aware of in the last couple of years, and something that I'm working on a lot for myself, not that you asked, but is I'm 100%, as you can tell, I'm 100% not just okay with the way I feel about this topic, but I plan to live the rest of my life. Yeah. However, I can see it bleeding into other areas. I can see it starting like it's a very easy slope that becomes slippery where you're like, yeah, well, I also don't like that you said that, and I also don't like, and all of a sudden you got to like be really. I really want to try to be particular about what I rail against, because there's so much that I disagree with and so much that I feel is fucked up. But at the end of the day, I'm also a libertarian in that way. And that, like, you know, I don't
Yep.
care if you're an ass, like if you're saying things that I think are just fucking ignorant and stupid, it's not affecting me or anybody else. So say them. I don't care.
Well, and this is the thing about you. You don't have. I have honesty hangovers. Like I say something about how I feel, and
Hangovers is
and
awesome.
it's like I posted a meme the other day that I thought was really funny that people got offended by.
Yeah.
And I posted something that I felt really strongly about that you had sent me, that was somebody talking about the opposite ends of both spectrums, right? One was sort of seemingly the people that got mad were the progressives,
Yeah.
and in this other instance, the people that got mad were was like sort of a leaning conservative. So both ends of these spectrums. One didn't see the joke in it, or did see the joke but thought it was offensive, and then one was like personally, and both of them personally attacked me. Both of them were sort of finding things that I've said. This is why I don't say my wife's name. I said it just now, but it's why I don't say my wife's name, why I don't say my kid's
I can
name.
cut that out, by the way. I have all the power.
Okay. Oh, look at you. But I don't. But I don't like when people. I don't like when people. I'm okay with people going through their shit. I'm not into them laying their shit on me. But because of the way that it works, and because people see us as different than actual humans, and I get that too, man. I fucking relate to that. So it's like, but what it comes down to is, like, I don't even know what I was saying. I feel like the quarantine, if it's done any real,
You were saying that the meme that you posted,
yeah, just this idea that like,
it was so polarizing, and you called me. You were like, dude, like, and we had a conversation about it.
yeah, but what you're saying is, this is what I was saying. What you do that I love is you don't have honesty hangovers, really. You go after something, you believe it, you say it, and that's who you are. And I think that that is something that I am working towards. I'm working very hard at not being a people. You've always done things the way you've wanted, from what I know about you, and the things your mother said, and the things that you've always, like, your beat has always been the beat that you have moved to. And so it's like, and so I don't, that's not me. And so when I see in you a moment where you respond and I go, oh, dude, that's amazing. And I would have said something similar, but fuck, man. And you just go, yeah. And then you kind of move on. And like, I think that that's a crucial, I think that that is and it doesn't mean that you don't think about what you post. It doesn't mean you don't backtrack on certain things. I'm just saying, you have a confidence in yourself. And I think that if human beings could do that more, they would be less knocked around by things they hear and see. And then at the same time, we would have more humans in the world you are very defined as a human. There's no, when I'm with you, I'm not like, I wonder how Richard feels about, I wonder where Richard stands on this. I wonder what, because it's like, and that's that, when you can work within the boundaries with a human, where you know where they stand, and then you can go in, and then you can evolve together. Like,
Right.
that's the shit. But like,
Well,
most
it's also
people,
important to have, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I feel the same way about you. But I think that one of the reasons that we've become friends, and we've had really some of my favorite conversations of the last several years I've had with you, dissecting things and both being, I'll go with what you said about me. Yes, I am opinionated. I do my homework. I research topics that I feel are important or just happen to interest me, and I form pretty, in some cases, passionate opinions about them. But I always try to be someone who's open to new information, and I get that from my father as well, where I don't ever want to be drowning in ideology, ever, because it's just gross. It's like, if you're not open to hearing new information, and there are so many topics, I think, even you, that through, as our friendship continues, I'm sure that there will be times when you're going to go, wait, you think that about that? I wouldn't have seen that. But it's because I've gotten new information, or because that particular topic has evolved. And if you don't evolve your ideology about something as the topic itself evolves, then you're a fucking asshole.
Well, and this is the thing, just to be clear, it doesn't mean I don't think that you evolve and change and see things different, because it's like, but you are like confidently yourself. And that doesn't mean that the information that you receive or the information you give can't be different, but it means that like there's no doubt who you are as a person and your moral compass and your view. It's like, and that is the shit. And so it's like the fact that I backed down and deleted the tweet that the guy that told me that fucking he thought like, he's like, you're a socialist and capitalism is you try to go hunt for your own deer or whatever he said. And it's like, and then he attacked something I had said in my live stream. And to me, I was like, you know what? This is not worth, this is where I want, I was like, delete. This is not worth it. I don't need to see, I don't need human beings to mirror back to me things that I think make them fucking stupid, because it just grinds out the joy of my life. Because it's such a bummer when I realize that when I have to come to in that door, if I come through the compassion door that human beings are different, I'm like, yeah, man, let's fucking do it. If I come through the triggered door of like, my parents pushed me away, you're telling me I'm not worth it, holy shit, then all of a sudden the same information coming in from this door makes me want to beat the fuck out of the world. I mean, I wanted to go to this fucking guy's house, drag him out, and it's like, dude, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, and
a complete stranger who will never make the slightest impact in your life in real terms, but made a significant impact in your fucking day that day.
It's crazy. And someone said to me the other day, your feelings are your feelings. They don't threaten me. Like, and I was like, oh, what? I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
You're telling me that my feelings can be my feelings, and that you are so stable in who you are that even if that they don't threaten you in any way because they're not an action. And I was like, whoa, my mind is being fucking blown.
That's some Yoda shit right there, though.
Yeah, dude, Yoda. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's
before we leave this, you know, you reminded me of something, and you have to help me because you turned me on to. We watched that interview last night that you sent me.
It was. Well, you didn't get to tell me. It's good, right?
It's not just good.
Yeah.
I mean, and you and I will have this conversation off air, as if this is CNN or Fox. Yeah. Chamat. Palapatia. Again, I need to learn. Palapatia. Palahapatia.
Yeah. He even said in the interview, people always get my fucking name wrong.
Right. It's a little tricky.
Yeah.
Even for those of us who actually
try. Yeah.
But and I'm dying to talk to you about that interview and him, but not for now. But one of the things that he said, and he was one of the dudes at Facebook that when it blew up, and he's a venture capitalist, and he's using, you know, at least his mission statement is that he's a billionaire, and he's acquiring as much wealth as he possibly can to do good for medicine, for education, for all these things that venture capitalists generally are not known for, right? Two things that he said in this interview that you sent me that I thought was so great, and it really applies to what you were just saying. He said, I think two of the most powerful things you can say are, I don't know, and I changed my mind.
Yeah.
And I think it's really a good thing to, and I think we're at a time, partly because of social media, where that feels like such weakness to most people, when in fact, that's where you're going to gain your strength, is by saying, I don't know, or I changed my mind. Because if you never say those sentences, you're not somebody that I really want to hang out with.
And this is the best part about what he said. And this is why social media is such a trap. And this is why, okay, so I have this theory, I have this saying that I always say to myself, if everybody's doing it, it must be wrong. That's like something that I say over and over again. Because usually when somebody says you have to read this book, I don't have to fucking read that book. Because when I read it, it sucks to me. Or you have to see this movie, like I watch the movie and I'm like, I don't fucking get this at all. Or most of the time, if you take it even further, it's like most people don't question the things that come in, like
Right.
most people, for whatever reason. And
One of
so
the reasons we get along. It's like Daisy and I are always saying we're all about JOMO, the joy of missing out.
I have so much I want to talk about in this interview that I can't about that,
Yeah.
because there's some great. So anyway, but what he said in this interview that I thought was great, and it was very enlightening, was he took apart social media, and he
Yeah.
said that social media undermines, and he said we had no idea when we did this, but social media undermines the crucial parts of social human
Society.
and if that wasn't one of the most mind-blowing moments where
That
it's like, yeah,
2 minutes or 3 minutes when he really broke down his opinion about social media
Ooh.
was I'm going to post it because
Yeah,
I thought it was really, and it's from 2 years ago.
yeah, yeah.
But it was really powerful.
But he's the guy that said let Delta go bankrupt. He's
Yeah.
that guy. Yeah, and it's like, and that really pissed everybody off. A couple people in my feed, because they were like, corporations are humans. They're attached to humans. And I get that it's a dynamic thing.
Yeah,
I
but
get
even
it.
that, he broke it down in a way that made total sense. If you just take that quote unto itself, you could go, what the fuck's he talking about? But being someone who understands how massive corporations really work, he broke it down. If you listen past that soundbite,
Yep.
if
Yep.
you listen past the headline, he breaks it down in a way that you go, you know what, it could actually be the best thing.
Yeah, dude, there's a lot of really fucking smart people in the world, and it's like that's the one thing that the social media is great for, is that you posted this thing and I did a deeper dive and hit my manager Jonathan, and he was like, "Oh, I love that guy, and here's that." And I sent you Naval Ravikant stuff, and Naval's a fucking really
Yeah,
really smart person.
yeah,
All these people have been ahead of the curve on the virus too. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like, but this is just, but this is the balance. Is like, if we're all, and just to sort of close the book on this, it's like we're never going to solve it, and and I don't want to live in a world where everyone thinks like me. I
No,
just, I just don't. I don't want anyone to have all the same beliefs as me. I want to be challenged by all of everybody's everything. And so it's like, so the question is, how do I go about figuring out how to like be the healthiest version of that I can be, where I'm not self-destructing, or destroying anything around me in the process of trying to exist in it.
I think okay, that was so poetically said, but I think that, and maybe you're saying the exact same thing. For me, it's like I want to constantly evolve my thinking and my versions of various ideologies, as long as at the end of the day, I feel good. As long as at the end of the day, I'm not, it doesn't create more anxiety in me or anger, or because to me it's like to be and I can't necessarily think of anyone off the top of my head, but to be incredibly knowledgeable and also malleable about new information and just be clay, be sort of intellectual clay. I want to try to be that for as long as I possibly can, as long as at the end of the day I'm just sort of like, you know what, but whatever, it's all good.
So I'm gonna take that. I want to be able to sit in my bad feelings and sit in my discomfort and as well as sitting in my comfort and my joy. And
Yeah,
I want to say to myself, it's okay. This is all going to be okay. I want to be able to sit in the parts of myself that are dark and make me feel shitty about myself. And I want to be able to sit in the parts of myself that, and still have those feelings, not necessarily purify those feelings and turn them into good feelings. I want to be able to sit in both of those feelings and have the same. This is the idea. Before I die, I want to be able to sit in my discomfort and my comfort and say, it's all okay. It's going to
yeah,
be okay.
equally at peace.
Yes,
Okay,
that's ideal.
last question, because I've never asked you this about sort of on this topic. If we go with the and I don't know if this is true for you, but I would say that my most contentious interactions generally are on social media. Um, however, what is typical for me, is I can be sitting in a chair over on the kitchen table and say something like have a back and forth with someone that's really sort of nasty. It's never me starting the nastiness, by the way. It's never me going, "Hey, you stranger in your feet, I don't like what you think, and you fucking has been." Like, that's never me.
Of course not.
But when I respond and it gets really nasty, I can hit send in a state of like, kind of like internally, like I really want, like I feel nothing but just anger and like disgust for that person. And within 5 seconds go, should we have tequila tonight, or do you want a martini, oh my God, should we watch this? Should we watch another episode of, like, it's gone. Like, I
Yeah.
don't hold on to that shit. And I think that really, I mean, I'm number one, I posed the question because I want to know what your experience is with that. And number two, I also just kind of want to annoy people out there who might think that I carry that shit around with me. I don't.
You don't. You really don't. But
it happened this morning, dude. It's like I did a thing, and then we took a beautiful walk on the beach with our dog. It was like, it's all good.
So this is an offshoot of your particular confidence that you've had all your life. And I'm not saying that you haven't had moments of not having it, but your mom told that story about you offering that airplane to that kid. That like,
yeah, you privy to some, you can't talk to my mom. And
but that's an incredible insight. Okay. That's an incredible insight into the fact that you do not really lean into scarcity thinking. It's like you don't lean super heavy into like, I'm hoarding this feeling or this emotional experience or this material thing because it might go away.
Right.
Okay. I am a 180 to that. So I grew up in a situation where love was fought over and hoarded and kept from. And so my experience to what you have is it torpedoes like my day, maybe my 3 days, maybe my week, as I try and sort of get to the bottom of what I did wrong by having my own opinion and what, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then when I realize that I didn't do anything wrong and that I'm not actually doing anything wrong by having my own opinion, then I get really pissed at people because why are they shitting on my lap? And it's like, and all of this is how my process goes because I said to my wife,
we shall not be mentioned.
Yeah, it'll be like beep. But I said, not that people don't know my wife's name, but but it's like I said to her about this guy. I was like, I've thought more in the last day and a half than this fucking guy has pissed in his lifetime. And I can't believe that he comes at me when I've posted something that I've vetted and thought through. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't mean that I don't have, that I'm still not working through maybe like weird rooted misogynistic thoughts or racist thoughts that I have that I didn't know I had that come up. And again, always evolving, always churning. But it's like, this motherfucker is telling me that what I posted was not thought through. Both of them, both the conservative person and the progressive people were like, I know you didn't think this through, or I've looked up to you my life and now you post this. And it's like, well, first of all, how about you don't fucking look up to somebody who makes music you like? Yeah. How about you look up to fucking you and then you fucking move on? And then the second part was this idea that was like, you obviously didn't think this through. And it's like, no, motherfucker, I did. And I thought it's funny. And it's like, or I thought it was poignant. And it's like, and that's why I posted it. And then part of me was like, this is not the arena to do any of this. And I was like, but I get so righteous and mad because they think I don't think it through, which is incorrect. And then they think that somehow it's like this idea that like and then my wife says, you got to stop taking all this stuff personally. It's not about you. And then sometimes I can, but again, when you come in from a door of compassion and focus and figuring it out, it makes sense. When I come in from like the desperate door of like, you just threw a punch at me or a metaphorical punch, which isn't really what happens, because when you really get a punch thrown at you, that's a different kind of aggressive. But like this sort of keyboard warrior attack thing, it's like when that comes at you, it's like it's impossible for me to come through the door of compassion for at least 2 days. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's it. So I have
you don't shake it off.
It takes me I am an external processor, as you know, because I
Yep.
do it with you.
Yep.
My wife is just like, it must be like being with a radio on. I just wake up in the morning and the first thing, and all the shit I thought about, and I'll be like, and I'll process with her. And it's like, yeah, man, it takes a while. It takes a while for me to get through it.
Do you find the process of like in the again, it feels like you're always in a state of creation and always in writing mode. I don't really know in the last few years that we've really been hanging out and talking a lot. I've never been aware of you taking a sabbatical or a period of not really thinking or writing in terms of, creation, being creative and lyrically, what I've seen you come up with in the last couple of years has just been stunning. It's been so impressive. And,
Great.
but I wonder now if how much of that is heroin for you and how much of and what comfort do you not comfort what how much of that is salve for all of this when you sit in that room, for instance, 2 hours maybe after you wake up and blah, and all that shit, and you're still thinking about the shit from the night before, and how dare they sit, and then you write something that is just so fucking good. Is that Neosporin for that at all?
I'm going to try and be concise because I ramble and I don't want to make this like a 3-hour thing where people are like, fucking Nathanson and Richard Marx. But it's like, but here's the deal. For me, creativity, sex, and physical exercise are 3 places in my life that I don't do well. I don't do them well because for a lot of reasons, but the more I'm able to let them be a part of my everyday life and not compartmentalize them into something that feels like a weight, the better off my life is. And so creatively is the easiest place for me to get in there,
mm-hmm.
because it's about me only,
Mm-hmm.
And so the more I cannot make, the more I don't compartmentalize my life, the better it is. And so the more I create as I do my day and make time to do it, the better I feel in the long run. Now, it doesn't mean that I feel awesome all the time. And then the idea that it would be like a salve or like something that saved my life to be able to write something like that, it gives me a sense of purpose. And because I'm a purpose-driven, goal-oriented person, which I'm trying to shift, but since I'm a goal-oriented person, that kind of thing gives me great pleasure, but it lives separately from the anger and frustration. And maybe what you're saying is something I need to think a lot about, because that might be where there's a holistic way to sort of connect them all and be able to root stuff out. But like, I wrote a poem last night before I went to bed, and I wrote it and I thought it was really like, wow, that's neat. Okay. And it's like, but that doesn't stop me from waking up and fucking wanting to take
That was my
swings at the
next
world.
question is, how fleeting is that? Is it heroin? Is it like, okay, now I need another one immediately because
the heroin part is accomplishment.
Momentary relief.
Yeah. And the part that's unhealthy is it's an accomplishment based thing,
Gotcha.
which is like when you watch a documentary on Basquiat, or you watch a documentary on Patti Smith, or
Right.
you watch, it's like, to them, it wasn't an accomplishment thing. It was like a vex of freedom, for of conduitness of through them. And that's the ideal. And that's what I'm going to try to I'm looking for that in my life. I'm looking for that creatively and sexually and physically, where it all becomes part of who I am, and I'm not self-conscious, and I'm dialed in, and I'm just fluid in that experience and unapologetically me. And I don't know how to do that yet.
Interesting. The idea of those things, those 3 things, being placed in a sort of constant rotation of not being cerebral in any way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Is tough for creative people, I think.
Yeah, but all the great ones, even though they struggled in certain parts of that, when they figured it out, it's like the stuff got real good sexually, physically. And it's like, I'm trying to make sure my brain only works like 8% of the time. Like, that's what I want to try and figure out how to do.
Yeah. Well, let's use the tiniest amount of it right now. You do something completely frivolous. I'm very excited about playing the
Oh,
game with you. We're going to play the game. We're going to close out by playing this game that I started playing with Daisy. I mean, not the same kind of game, but
yeah, I know you two little saucy minxes.
we were in the car, and I'm pretty sure it started with Steely Dan. There was a Steely Dan song that came on, and she was singing along. And I said, "Is that your favorite Steely Dan song?" And she said, "Yeah, I think so." And I think it was Deacon Blues. And I said, "Oh, okay, well, do you like that, or do you like Ricky Don't Lose You That Number?" And it went, and then I just started to go down these, we didn't do a deep dive on Steely Dan, because she just knows the hits. And that's what's fun about this game is you do the most known songs of artists or bands who've had lots of hits, and you narrow it down to what I can, pretty much safely say, at least on this day, is your favorite. And in this case, it's going to be, because I took Joff, Def Leppard.
So what's funny to me is that you didn't make this about U2, which I would have thought you would have done because we're so nerdy about U2.
Oh, maybe do that next.
But I love the Def Leppard. Bring it on.
The other thing is, and no disrespect to Def Leppard, because we both love Def Leppard, and I love a lot of the deep cuts as well. But so many of my favorite U2 songs are not songs that were hits or that necessarily people watching this would know. And it would be painful for me to play the U2 game. Now, I will play the U2 game with you next time we hang out.
Yeah.
Because that would be really fun for me. But it would be boring for anybody who's watching.
Okay. All right.
We'd be talking about songs and then be like looking them up on Apple Music or Wikipedia and shit, right? So I'm going to make it what I think is kind of easy. I'm going to start with Foolin' or Bringing On the Heartbreak.
Bringing On the Heartbreak. Yeah.
You don't get to be cerebral and think. You just
Bring it on the Heartbreak. Bring it on the Heartbreak.
Bring It On the Heartbreak or Let's Get Rocked. And I know the answer.
It's funny. Let's Get Rocked. Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
Even when he goes, dude,
believe me, lyrically, there's moments in that song that hurt my feelings. But for some reason, especially when you see that song live, when you see them play it live.
Oh my God, I love that song. I do love that song.
Dude, it transcends all of the moments that my judgy little lyric like assassin comes out, because the song is so powerful.
So powerful. And the end of the bridge, when it goes to the fucking modulation, I get goosebumps even just thinking about it.
Yeah. That song is, Bring It On the Heartbreak is fucking magical, but it's more of an emotional magical thing. To me, I feel like Let's Get, and I shouldn't talk about it, but Let's Get Rocked feels like more of like a empirical fact.
Yeah. Let's Get Rocked or Two Steps Behind.
Let's Get Rocked.
Yeah. Let's Get Rocked or Promises.
So I think Promises is sort of a exceptional, weird little country tune. So Promises to me
I love Promises too.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's going to get a little tougher. I'm going to go one, because I wanted to ask you about this one. One less known, but I think you love the song. So Promises or Gods of War?
So Gods of War is so Promises, because Gods of War is a little long, a little conflated. That part where Reagan talks and Thatcher talks, I'm kind of out.
Okay. Promises or When Love and Hate Collide? When Love and Hate Collide.
When Love and Hate Collide.
When
Love and Hate Collide is one of my favorite Def Leppard songs.
Great song.
But it's funny, that's a good one. Shit. Promises still wins.
Nice.
Because Promises still wins.
Rocket.
Wait, what were they?
Rocket or Promises?
Again, Rocket suffers from bloat for me, so Promises.
Yeah, there's this middle bit of Rocket that
it's really fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like, come on, get back to that.
Yeah, but it gets in the way unless I'm in the moment of it. It gets in the way of enjoying it.
Yep. Promises or Rock of Ages?
Fuck. I mean,
this is a fun game.
What I have to go with Rock of Ages because I just have to go with Rock of Ages.
Now it's going to get really tough. It would be for me. Rock of Ages or Women?
Women.
Yeah. God, how great is that song?
It's real great. I love it. I mean,
And it's also,
dude.
for me, and I don't want to, again, I don't want to get completely nerd out on this, but that album in 1987, I was on my first tour, and I remember every minute. I remember more about the whole evening of listening to the Hysteria album for the first time with my band in a shitty motel room, and I mean motel room, like a highway roadside motel room, than I remember about the day Elvis died, or you know what I mean. I remember it. I remember more about that day than when my kids were born. You know, it's like it's more indelible.
So here's a funny thing real quick, and I'm just going to say it real quick.
So
okay.
My point is, the first thing I heard, and I was so looking forward to the Hysteria album, and the build up and the hype and the anticipation, and then the first thing you hear is Women. Yeah. Oh, God.
And here's the thing about confidence in musicianship and Def Leppard and why they're badasses. Def Leppard, to go from High and Dry to Pyromania, but then Pyromania Hysteria, you have to have so much confidence in what you're doing, even when you have moments of not having confidence in it, because you're essentially flipping your entire fan base on its side, going for something that you may miss when you go for it. And it's like, and that is what, to me, that kind of courage, and I know courage is that's a very dynamic word, but as an artist, to be able to do that from a commercial point of view, I think shows the strength of of Def Leppard. Whereas like someone like Dylan didn't give a fuck, or the Beatles didn't give a fuck. And they, but a band like Def Leppard or a band like U2, bands that maybe were made up of more human humans and people that were a little bit more dialed into getting feedback from people that told them that they were worth it. For them to do something that's that sort of that turns their experience on its side like that, it's just fucking great.
Women or Love Bites?
Love Bites.
Yeah, God.
That I don't want to touch you too much, baby.
Can we also, just before we go even 1 second, we have to give so many props to Mutt Lange.
Oh, yeah.
Who, I mean, I love the band, and I've hung out with the band, and I know the guys as you do a little bit, but holy shit, Mutt Lange.
Well, and the band let him be the sixth person in the band, which is like props to a bunch of fucking people for letting some dude in like that.
Love Bites or Foolin'?
Love Bites.
Love Bites or Photograph?
Photograph, now that you've put this into the equation, there's nothing that beats Photograph to me in the world. It's top 3 best songs of all time for me, like With or Without You, Photograph. Once that enters into the Thunderdome, there's just it's a perfect moment in a perfect,
nothing's going to be Photograph for you.
It's the greatest fucking thing it's the greatest thing on the planet to me.
Okay.
I cry when it comes on the radio. When With or Without You comes on the radio, and this is going to fuck up our U2 game. When With or Without You comes on the radio, I cry every time I hear it.
Wow.
Every time. When Photograph.
Red Rain by Peter Gabriel.
Oh, dude. And when Photograph comes on the radio, it is impossible for me not to think this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we know. So, and I left off songs that are really fun, like Armageddon, but for me.
Yeah. What's keep going. I didn't mean to fucking derail you. You can keep going.
No. But that's, the 2 that I was going to throw out there, the last 2 I was going to throw out to go against what is now Photograph, would be, I don't know. I have to go with one of these as my favorite. So let me start with this. If you had to pick a close second.
Yeah.
Photograph. Is it Animal or is it Hysteria?
Animal.
Really?
My second favorite Def Leppard song.
I fucking love Animal, but I think my favorite Def Leppard song of all time is Hysteria.
Hey, do you know the part in Animal that goes the pre again? I need your touch, don't need your love. Whoa, like that. I mean, a wild ride over stony ground.
The key changes and
it's
sublime. That's a tricky one. And so for me, and Photograph would be probably my number 3. So it would be, for me, it would be Hysteria, Animal, and Photograph.
Woo! All right. And
So
I would.
we can still be friends.
So no, I love it, and I would put it. Let It Go. You know, like there's a couple songs on High and Dry.
Yeah.
Let It Go is so very good, and so it's like, and then Rock Brigade, like from the first record. Hello America, probably from the first record. There's so, you know, yeah. Oh, that's so good. They're so good. And then stuff like Torn to Shreds off of X. There's stuff in the later era stuff, but
Yeah.
what you talked about for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun.
Oh my God, I love you. This is great. Look at us.
And I can't wait for this fucking COVID bullshit to be over so we can play the U2 game in person.
Yeah, and just leave With or Without You till the end, and I can't wait to do that. I mean, like it's.
We don't have to. No, now we would just. It would be muted. It would be not part of the game.
Yeah, I'm in.
There's the game where we already know that you have this affinity and this obsession for with or without you. So we take that. It's not a piece of the game.
Yeah.
It's not a.
I was gardening yesterday, and Promenade came on from Unforgettable Fire. Earth, sky, sea, and rain. Is she coming back again? Men are strong. And I was just like, fuck, this band was from another planet.
You know, I think we talked about this. Another song that has that made me cry was Miracle Drug.
Well, we talked about this. The Chicago version of the live version from the Chicago DVD, where Larry's going, "Ow," and then Edge goes, and Edge sings the part, because I don't think he sings it on the record, where he says, "Beneath the noise, below the din, I hear your voice, it's whispering." And then Bono's like, "In science and in medicine, I was a stranger, you took me in the same." Oh my God. And he goes, and Bono goes, "I see it when you smile." It's like fucking so good.
I was at that gig, or I think they recorded
multiple nights, but you were there. Yeah.
I was there for one of them.
Oh shit.
Well, this was fun, Matt Nathanson. You're a great guy. So I'm so happy that we're pals.
The best.
And I'm gonna hang up, and I'm gonna bleep out your wife's name.
I appreciate that.
Of course. And I'll let you know when this is gonna be. It'll be up this week sometime.
Awesome. Big love, hug.
Yeah,
for me.
I'll talk to you later today.
Yeah, talk to you in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
Bye.